Okay, gang, I thought I would record a little video for you for the motion path of the edge animate element that we're going to put in the masthead of our airplane 5-page website design. So I've opened up edge animate, and you'll see there's the properties palette over on the left hand side. We'll have our elements in our library along the right hand side. The canvas area is right in the middle, which they call the stage, and then you'll see down the bottom here is a timeline, and things will start looking a lot like Adobe Flash as we kind of navigate through here a little bit. We're going to do a simple one-time paper airplane animation, something we can put in the masthead of your website design to give it a little embedded movie, and you'll see how that works. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to import our transparent airplane. Now I went out on to Google and I just grabbed a standard old transparent PNG airplane, just something to work with. And you'll notice it comes in, and I'm going to hold down shift and I'm going to scale it down in proportion so it'll be the right size on my stage. I'm going to go ahead and drop that right in the corner of the stage. Now, your airplane should have a properties panel over here on the left hand side with it selected. If not, you can go up to window and make sure the properties box is checked. Now, when you place your airplane in here, make sure that you have it selected, and you'll notice your toolbar is up here along the top portion of the strip, the same as in Photoshop when you select something and you have your properties up there. And you'll notice right here in position and size, we'll have something that says motion path. So we're going to go ahead and click that. So it's not an XY motion, it's an actual motion path. Now, right down here in the timeline, just like in Flash, you'll notice we're at 0 seconds. If I double click on that, you're going to notice that a little blue marker appears. This is a toggle marker. And I'm going to move this along the timeline, and I'm going to put it right about here at 4 seconds. Now, you'll notice that this now has highlighted in a color showing there's a motion of 4 seconds, and the marker is now at 4 seconds. Just like in Flash, wherever this little marker is, that's where you are in the timeline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move this plane up and put it up in the other corner. And you're going to notice we now have a trailing line. That trailing line is exactly like it would be if we had drawn a line in Flash and snapped our object to it. So I'm going to go ahead and, now you'll notice when I mouse over the line, it gives me a pen tool. I'm going to go ahead and click my pen tool, and I'm going to curve this plane and have it fly. Now, if I wanted to add more than one pen point, want more than one path, I could go ahead and click in multiple places and curve this plane around. Now, if I hit my play, you're going to notice the plane is going to take the path of the motion path that was created. Now, that motion path is invisible, right? So that's not a worry. Now, just like in Flash, I can move this line along, and you'll notice it's going to change. So I'm going to go to about where it hits that next point, which is right there. And right down here next to location, you're going to see a little diamond that says add keyframe. I'm going to add a keyframe there. So you'll notice that there's that little keyframe that's appeared just like in Flash, and I can add multiple keyframes. So I'm going to go ahead and take this down to the next pen point, which is right about there. And I'm going to add another keyframe. So now you'll see I have one there. I'm going to go ahead and slide this down to roughly at the other keyframe spot, right about there. I'm going to add a keyframe. Now, I'm going to go up here and transform, because I think that I want the plane to rotate a little bit, I would think. So I'm going to move it, well, maybe I'll move it here. And let's go ahead and rotate this a little bit so that it looks like it's traveling up. And then when I get to here, I'm going to rotate it again. So let's get to the edge of this thing. Rotate it again. All right, so it's going to appear as if it's kind of swaying in the wind a little bit as it rotates. Then I'll rotate a little bit like that. And then when I get to the end, it should probably be a little more upright. So I'm going to rotate it again. So let's go ahead and hit the play. You'll notice the plane's kind of swooping along, and it ends at the top there. Now, you guys know me by now, and you know that I'm a big right clicker. So you're going to notice that this layer now that has appeared in the timeline is just of the paper airplane icon. And then you'll notice there's a rotation and there is a location set for the paper airplane. So I'm going to go ahead and slide it back to the beginning. And I'm going to go ahead and right click on that layer. And you're going to notice here that you get all of these different options. And one of them's add keyframe, and that's like adding a properties or an effect onto the plane. And you're going to notice that you can actually add a blur filter, and this is a really cool technique because it allows us to make this thing look like it appears out of nowhere and then makes it disappear again. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that, and you're going to notice right down here there's now a blur filter and a keyframe at 0, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and crank this so that it's completely blurred out. And so the plane would be completely blurred out the entire way, but I want it to appear back right about here. So I'm going to add that keyframe, and right down here at this keyframe, I'm going to crank it back down to 0. And so let's keep going. All right, so now the plane appears out of nowhere, and that's going to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm going to add a keyframe here so it's still at 0, and then I'm going to crank down to the end, and at the very end I'm going to put another keyframe, and I'm going to blur it out again. So there we go. So now this plane is going to zoom in, fly, zoom out. All right, so there we go. Now, you're going to notice right now that the stage is white. So it is not transparent. Now, remember, there's a stage layer up here. So you have this layer, which is your airplane that has all the properties applied to it, the motion path, the blur filter, the location change, the rotate, and you have the stage layer. Now, the stage layer is the canvas. So I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to add a background color. Now, the key to adding a background color here is, and see how it becomes a subset property, just like these subset properties. I'm going to double click on here, and I'm going to change the transparency all the way down. You can see I'm cranking it all the way down so it's completely transparent. It'll appear gray on the canvas, but it's actually completely transparent. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this thing so you can see what happens. I'm going to name it as airplane fly. And you'll notice that Edge Animate saves it as an HTML file. That's different than the FLA file, remember, for Flash, which also exports an SWF file. Well, we don't want it to export an SWF file. We want to publish it as an OAM file. I'm actually going to turn off the web, and I'm going to deploy the package, which is an OAM file, which you'll see right up here that says OAM. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. And so now let's minimize this for a minute. And I'll minimize all of my chat windows. Now you'll notice it generates a folder. If I double click on that folder, you're going to see that it has a publish folder. So here's all the things that it created. It created the Edge Animate file for me, the HTML, the JavaScript. I'm going to double click on the publish, and you're going to see animate package, and you'll see an OAM file. Well, let's see what happens when I bring that into Muse. So I'm going to go into Muse here. And just for the sake of the process, I'm going to make a new Muse document, and I'm just going to give it a background color of like blue or something like that, just so that you can see the transparency of the animation that we're placing in. So let's go ahead and open up Muse here. And then I'm just going to open up a new document here, and then we'll place that OAM file so you can see what happens. So let's go in here. Let's get a new document so I can close the welcome window. I don't need a welcome. And so let's go into the new site. And this is fine. So I'll go in here into the master and I'll change the canvas color to whatever color. We'll do let's do deep red. All right, so let's close that. Let's go into the home page. All right, so here we go. Come on, render, 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 render. All right, and I'm going to place this. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to place. So you'll see publish, fly, publish, animate package. I'm going to place my OAM file. And you're going to notice when it comes in that it's a big box. And that's the path that my plane travels that I created in my animation. That's a little too high, so let's move this down a little bit. And let's save this. And we'll just save it as airplane test, airplane test. And let's preview it. Computer's acting slow today. Just got up this morning, I guess. There it is. Holy slow. It's like churning and churning. It's taking time to render. That's why it's so slow. There it is. And so now let's just go back to our Edge animate file. And let's take a look at it. Looks like it has. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. This has a gradient transition. Let me just see what I have going on here. It looks like it took the gradient transition that I clicked on there. So this should be just a transparent background. And so let's do that again, just to make sure that it doesn't take the gradient transition there. And let's make sure that it is 0 here too. All right, good. So let's do that one more time. Let's save it. And let's publish settings. Just make sure that it's only publishing the OAM file. So we'll minimize that. And we'll go back into Muse. And let's get rid of this one. And let's bring another one in. Wow, my computer's running a little bit slow today. So let's do that. And get rid of that. go ahead and place it. Let's go back to the desktop and make sure we're grabbing the right one. Airplane fly, publish, package, OAM file. Let's just drop that in right there. And let's see what it looks like. Come on. There we go. Perfect. So there you go.